Good morning, everybody. Welcome to today's Wednesday webinar, where we meet to discuss all things PLUS related and how to use the system. Today's session will be talking about Fairfax County's geographic information systems and how they interface with PLUS. My name is Allison, and I'm filling in today for Rachel Martin, our wonderful trainer that you're used to hearing host these. Today I'm hosting for her. She can't be here, and I'm joined today by two other county staff members who are experts in the county's GIS, and they'll be joining us in just a moment. We're going to start with a quick technical orientation, just a little overview to make sure that anybody who might be unfamiliar with the system here can most effectively participate in today's session. So you'll notice that the webinar has started. Hopefully you can hear me. Please check your audio if you're not hearing as well as you want to. You can check your audio controls. If you lose audio, you might try logging out and back into the meeting or the webinar. That's usually enough to restore the connection for you. You'll also notice that you're muted. Everybody is automatically muted by this platform here. To most effectively communicate when we have a large group, it's hard if everybody has access to the microphone. So instead, we use the questions feature here within the webinar to communicate with each other. If you have any questions or comments for the presenters, please type them into the questions box. If you're joining us today from your computer, your view is going to look like what you're seeing on the left side of my screen right now. That questions box is what you want to click to open up the box itself, and then you'll enter and type in a question or comment. If you're joining from a mobile device like your cell phone maybe, or a tablet, your view will look more like the right side of my screen, and it's the question mark down at the bottom in that red box that you're looking for if you're on one of those devices. They function the same way. You enter in, type a question, comment, etc., and only myself and the panelists joining me will be able to see your question or comment. The panelists will answer as time allows any questions that come in. If they feel it's relevant to the whole group, then perhaps they'll read the question aloud or send an answer to the entire group. Otherwise, they respond directly within that questions box to the person asking the question. You're welcome to send as many questions as you want throughout the duration of this session today. Anything that can't be answered within the presentation time limit will be answered in a follow-up email that Rachel, the trainer, sends out post-webinar to every participant. Kind of a summary of the session as well as every single question that was asked with the answer. All right, so if you'll take just a moment so I can make sure that A, you know where to find your question box, and B, that anybody that you're actually hearing me, if you could just find that question box and type in a hello or good morning or something to let me know that you're finding it and following along, that would be fantastic. Great, I'm seeing some come in. Thank you so much. Good morning to you all. Thanks for joining us today. So with that, we're going to go ahead and get started with today's session. The topic, again, is GIS and mapping services and how they function within PLUS. And our panelists today are staff members Brett Martin and Chip Galloway. Thanks for joining us, gentlemen. And they're going to take over from here. So I'm going to mute myself and let them take over.
Okay, hello everyone. I am Brett Martin, and I am the GIS Program Manager for Land Development Services. And I'm going to show you a couple applications today. I'm going to show you the Site Records Viewer, which has been around for a few years, but now has been integrated with a lot of the data that's coming, or all the site data that's coming through PLUS system. And then also the Infill and Conservation Plan Viewer, which is part of a larger notification system that you can sign up for and receive updates on infill and conservation plan activity in the county. And again, both these applications are being updated daily with records from Plus. And then Chip is going to give you a deep dive into the Jade application, which will be consuming these data sources very soon, but is really the kitchen sink application for all of the of Fairfax County's GIS data and is a super valuable resource. But this, what you're seeing here is our public page, and I shared the link in the chat. I'm going to go ahead and get started. Oh, let me refresh this. So this is the Site Records Viewer. Like I said, it's been around for about 3 years. And what this application does is it gives spatial reference to the location of a site record and then has links to the approved documents. So whether it's a plan or a soils report, all those approved documents can be found in this application. So this has been using, in the past, was using data from the planning and waiver system, PAWS, and would provide the hyperlink and you would go and download the plan. We are still in the process of transitioning this fully into just using Plus data, and I'll show you why here in a second. So currently there are 2 GIS layers in here. One contains the records that were approved in PAWS. So this is everything up till October 31st of last year. And then there's a second layer that's the records that have been approved in Plus, which is everything going forward from implementation of Plus in last October. I'll show you the ins and outs of this application and those 2 layers and kind of where we're going with this process. But there's a ton of information in here, and the most important thing now is that this is updated on a daily basis. So when plans are approved that night, script runs and this application gets updated and you can access those approved plans in here. So to be clear now, with Plus, you can go and access these documents straight through Plus. You can go to the site record and get the document there, which I'll show you. But this gives you that spatial reference if you would have the map interface and you want to search by address or by parcel and go to the location and access the data that way, and then throw in other GIS data that you can do spatial analysis or kind of dig in to the data. There's links in here to Plus. One thing to note is that these site records are mapped by the tax parcel. We did not start maintaining parcels in GIS until the year 2000. So if the site record is older, but more importantly, if it is associated with a parcel that was subdivided and then expired, didn't exist in the year 2000, we don't have a spatial reference for those parcels. So those will solely be available in Plus. Before Plus, they were, you'd have to go through the whole process of submitting a FOIA request to grab those, but now those documents will be available in Plus. If for some reason you cannot find a site record or a document, you could definitely get it in Plus. And if for some other reason you still can't find it, you can submit a FOIA request and get it through the Records Information Management. Also too, if you need to hear a deeper dive into this or hear this presentation over again, there is a YouTube that goes through this whole process. It is missing a couple of the brand new things I'm going to show you, but it is very helpful. So I'm just going to start by the first thing up here, and that's the search. Of course, I would imagine a lot of folks can be searching by their address or by parcel. You can also search by, if you know a piece of the project name or the plan number, you can search either one of these data sets. The easiest thing to do is just search all, because then it's searching all of those layers, and you can just put in keywords. So if I only know Fairbrook, it's going to pull up everything, every address that has Fairbrook in it, and then every project name or document name that has Fairbrook in it. So we get all these Fairbrook subdivisions, and those were coming from PAWS. And then we have site records from Plus. There's one in there as well. So I'm going to click on this first guy here, and it'll zoom me to this location. So this is, like I mentioned, there's two layers in here, one site records from PAWS and one site records from Plus. So the PAWS data set doesn't have as much, as many fields, but it does have some really cool functionality. We have the project name, we have the document name, record type, address, the final action, which is going to be approved, and the final action date. And if you click on the hyperlink here, it automatically downloads the document. And there it goes. So this is what, if you've used the site records viewer before, this is what you're used to. And this is comprehensive. Everything that was approved in PAWS is now in this application. One thing, as you can see, is that this blue outline, this is showing the parcel when this plan was approved. You can see by these brown parcels that this is what's here now. So it's quite different. I'm going to go up to the layer list in the top right and come down to this little ellipse here and go to transparency. By default, these two layers are completely transparent, and the reason being, I'll change the plus one too. Sure, it's not as many. Is what I mentioned with the parcels. This is 20 years of parcels, and just with this location that I've zoomed to, you can see this looks quite different. So it gets kind of messy when you start throwing all these subdivided 20 years worth of county development all into one map. It gets kind of clustered. I do see the benefit of turning these on. There's all kinds of benefit to that. So we're going to go ahead and do it in this demo just so you can see where they're all at. The blue one, that's plus, and all these red areas are going to be records that are associated with PAWS. And if you notice, there's really no border on this shape, because that makes it look really confusing. As you can imagine, there's lines all over the screen. So just so you know, that's the reason that it comes transparent. It looks like there's nothing in this application. So to show you the difference between, this is the PAWS record, so I'll click on this plus record. So with the plus record, we've got a little bit more detail here. We've got the plan number here, the record ID, the record type. It's got a link to the plus record, which we'll click on in a second. It's got your project name, the status date. It's also got these other, the submitted date, accepted date, approved date, and the parcel. So you notice there's no hyperlink directly to the plan. So with the plus records, for now, you will just go directly to, this link will take you directly to the record where you would access the record info and click attachment. So the idea of going forward is we're working on a process, we're testing it internally now, to where this will function the same way as the, where is the record? This will function the same way as the PAWS layer that I just showed you, where it just has the hyperlink straight to the document and downloads it. That's where we're headed. We should have that functioning hopefully in the next month or so. But for now, you go hyperlink to the record, and then you can download the plan from here. And on top of that, you get all the other functionality that comes with being in the actual record, where you can, and there we go, and it pulls the plan. So you do get the added functionality of being able to see, more details on the status of the plan and payments and everything that comes along with being on the public side of the plus record. And it wouldn't be logical to include all of this data in GIS. We really just need the spatial component and these fields that are really valuable for spatial analysis. So to be clear, the future of this will be, it will always include the link to the plus record, it'll just also have another link that just downloads the plan directly. And once we have that functionality added, we'll remove the pause layer and just have one layer that's just for plus. Just to kind of, we wanted to keep that functionality of the way that the pause records worked, because there's over 100,000 records in here from pause that have been approved, and there's I think about 600 or so since plus went live. So it keeps the percentages of keeping that quick functionality for the purpose of this application. So to show you some other tools and stuff that you can do, I'm just going to start over here on the top. This about section just goes through basically everything I'm going to show you about these 3 different widgets. The site records near me, the site records filter, and the table. The legend, pretty self-explanatory, and the layer list we've already shown. Just to show you again, to change that transparency, you can just use the sliders. This base map gallery, this is the same that the base gallery that Chip's can show you in a second, and the same base gallery it's in all of our GIS applications. Very helpful, especially with this. We can see in this situation here where there is active construction going on, and this is 2022 imagery. So kind of that parcel with the subdividing and all the changes we were seeing kind of makes more sense with the imagery on. But you can use the other base maps, whatever's most helpful. I like just the standard topo. It provides a good clean picture. So to show you the filters. So again, 2 layers in there for now. I've got the pause data set and the filters for that, and then the plus data set with the filters for that. So the record types that are in here, they mostly match from what we were using in pause and what we're using in plus. But you can come down, you can select as many record types as you want. If you wanted to see infill lots and say RPAs, these are, I'll just keep scrolling to kind of show you. And the reason for the site records is there are a lot of documents in here. It's not just approved plans. There's a lot of information here. I'm just going to go with those 2. So once you've selected whatever you want to filter, and this goes across all of the filtering, you just click this button. And now that's only showing me pause record, RPA, and info plans from pause, which if I open up the attribute table, and to show you again, that was this guy down here in the bottom, and then put that over to pause, it's just going to show me those records. I'll let that draw for a second. So you can also filter on, if you know specific date ranges that you're looking for, you can also filter on those. And also, if you know there's and with the old pause data, we did include disapproved plans, but mostly it's approved plans. And then if you know a piece of the same way as I showed with the function in the search, if you just typed in a part of the plan number, you can filter on that. Most of the time, you're just going to be filtering on the record type and probably the date. But there are lots. So you can see there's 14,871 infill and RPA plans that were approved and paused that we have in this application. Again, that's not a comprehensive number because some of those are going to have been before the year 2000, so we don't have spatial data on. So what's really neat is when you have the table view of this, the URL for the downloading the PDF is exposed. So if you just wanted to send somebody a copy of a plan, you can just copy that URL and send it to them in an email or a text or whatever, and it's going to open up that plan and download it. So that's really, really cool functionality. So the same thing works for plus. So let's just keep it to the same infill plan and an RPA plan and hit filter. So we got rid of that that plan that was right there. I'll kind of zoom out, see what's going on. Let's go to another. No, we'll stay right here. And you can filter, drill in on the dates and the project name. I'm going to close the attribute table Oh, one more thing is if you did want to, you can export this out to a CSV. And to show you for reference, for what's been approved and plus, there's 275 as opposed to the 15,000 number that I showed you. Shut this down. So the next widget that I wanted to show you, and also, not only do these filters work at the attribute table down here, they also are applied still when I go to any of the other widgets. So this site records near me, you can type in an address, or for this demo purposes, I'm just going to drop a point and determine if you want to see, this is in miles. So say I just wanted to see a half a mile from my house that's right here. This is going to list all of the RPA and infill plans within a half a mile. And any of those other, if you filter on date or any of those other filters would be applied to this. So if you're just looking for recent approved of a certain plan type, that works with this as well and just grabs those plans. And if you want to zoom in to, you can obviously click on them, but if you just want to click here, it'll zoom you in and then you can download the plan right here. Let's zoom back out. So that is, oh, and one other thing I did want to show you, and this is available with all of the LDS applications, and it's also available in the Jade that Chip's going to show you, but there are these parcel reports that at any time, any of the parcels, you can run these parcel reports on. These are all the public reports. So this is, you can come and get the iCare, the real estate information on this. You can also get the parcel report on that specific parcel with all of the watershed, floodplains, RPA information, the soils data. And then you can also do a general report to get this information as far as the more real estate information, land use, zoning, all that good stuff. So let me close these down. The one last thing I wanted to show you is, and this will be the same, this is in all of the LDS applications, have the add data button. So if you were wanting to see how a specific record relates to a site record relates to another GIS database data set, all of these blue thumbnails, these are all publicly available Fairfax County authoritative data sources. So say if I wanted to see, I've got RPAs and infills filtered, I wanted to see RPAs, let's go ahead and add that. And I got the RPA layer in there, and say I want to see potential wetlands too, throw that guy in there. So now we can see, what is this? This is an RPA plan right here. In this case, you can see down here in the corner of this parcel that there is the RPA that goes through there, and this was the parcel before it was subdivided into these parcels, which is, it's good to see, to keep that geometry of what was the geographic area when the plan was approved. In this case, it was this one big parcel here when this RPA study was done. And if you want to dig into the RPA study, go and click the link, pull the plan down, and you can determine, see, okay, was there another delineation done on this RPA? And there's a lot of other instances where that becomes very, very valuable. But all of our public data is in the Add Data button. And then the only thing left is, this is just information on LDS, if you're not already aware. But this format looks pretty straightforward across all of the land development services public applications, and same with the search functionality. So the next application that I wanted to show you is the infill and conservation plan viewer. And so this is this GIS application where you can view recent infill and conservation plan activity. So now we're getting away from what's approved. This is everything that's been approved in the last 6 months and everything that's in review or and is going through our process. So before I jump into the application, I did want to share with you this is part, you can receive notifications by district for this infill activity. So if you come to the subscribe here, which again, you can get to this app off that public link that I sent you guys. You can put in your email and then it's by district. I'm signed up for all districts, so when you see mine, it's everything. Sign up for the districts that you want to be, or you're interested in. And then once a week, and where'd it go? Aha. Once a week on Monday morning, you will receive this report that shows you all of the plans that were submitted for whatever districts that you signed up for, not just submitted. This could be that it went into the review process. And just to be clear, it could be that it was disapproved and then resubmitted. So some of these you see are older plan numbers that are not in the plus format of, plan type, year, count. Some of these are, are going back and forth through the process. So it does look extensive. So this isn't technically everything that was a brand new submission last week, but it is stuff that is in flight going through our process. So you receive this email, and this is a big one. It's normally not this many. And down at the bottom, you have the link to the app, subscribe, which you've already done. And then if you wanted to unsubscribe, you can click this link and pop in an email. Let me close this to go back to the app. So once you are, you have access to the application, you're getting the report, you can come in here and this makes a little bit more sense because you'll know specifically, obviously this is, and this is the good thing, this app's updated every single day. The notification goes out Monday mornings once a week, but this app is updated every night with new activity. So at any time you can come to the app and see what's the most recent without waiting on the notifications. If you do get the notification and you know a specific plan that you're looking for, it's the same way I showed you before. You can search in here and go and see, whoop, that looks funky. Let's let that draw. There we go, that fits. This one is green, which means that this is approved. And like I said, there are some of these that by the time the report, they're going through the process, by the time that gets through, maybe it was a resubmission, and by the time it got through the process, it was already, it was approved by the time you got the report. But again, you have the 3 reports, and it's the same information that we saw with the site records viewer, and then you can go to the record to get more information to find out what the processes and the steps were with that specific plan. And then also to, this one, the Near Me widget's very helpful with this data set as well. If you're really wanting to see what's going on in your specific area, you can come in the app. And like I said, the notifications are by district, but if you're really wanting to come in here and see what's going on, you can just zoom to your address and do these buffers or use the map to poke around. And we could see there's one in review here, and then there was a couple more. There's one that was approved on this location. And then as far as the filters, it's basically the same. Well, you can filter by district, which is not in the other app, and then by the record type, which is only going to be infill or conservation. And then the various dates, you can filter on those to kind of refine what you're looking at. But that is all that I have, and I'll try to answer any questions that popped in to the chat, and if not, I will get back to any that come in, and I will pass this off to Mr. Chip.
Thank you, Brett. Can you confirm you're seeing my Jade screen?
Yes.
Perfect, thank you. All right, thank you. My name is Chip Galloway. I am a GIS analyst with the GIS and Mapping Services Division of Fairfax County. Our agency maintains dozens of interactive mapping applications that serve a variety of purposes. The Jade application that I'm showing you today is really, again, like Brett said, it's our kitchen sink. We've got over 170 layers in here. To take a step back too, I teach a couple of different classes where I teach things that are concepts and I teach things that are hands-on. What I'm showing you guys today is very much a hands-on. If you have a second screen, I suggest that you follow along, click buttons. It's really the only way you learn. I'm a big supporter of the adult learning theory, saying that adults are most interested in learning subjects that have an immediate relevance and impact to their job and personal life. Adult learning is problem-centered rather than content-oriented, and experience, including mistakes, provides the basis for learning activities. So again, click around. The more comfortable you are in this, the more efficient you will become just with exposure. What I'll be talking about today, what you're looking at is the Jade application, and it's a general map viewer. It's a map application. It's available on any device. You can open this on your phone. 170 layers. You can combine, view, analyze data. Again, it works on mobile, but it will have limited capabilities. You can get detailed property reports. It's especially useful for land development. You can save, share, print map creations, and it also houses current and historical aerial imagery and some cool bird's eye imagery from multiple angles that we'll get into as well. Okay, first things first, how do we get to the Jade? A couple of different ways. Google's probably the easiest way. Fairfax Jade. That would be that first link right here. That's one way to find it. Another way is to go through our Fairfax County homepage. And from here, you would click Government, go to Maps and Data. Give that a second. You can scroll down. You have a quick link that'll jump right to it. But another thing I wanted to show you guys is our interactive mapping applications gallery. Once that opens, this shows dozens and dozens of web maps and applications that we house. And the way to find this one would be finding Jade right there. So there's lots of layers in this. The first time it opens, it could take a while to open, 30 seconds to possibly a minute. There's a lot of stuff going on in here. But just a quick overview, the three sections of this map I will be talking about. On the left-hand side here is what we call the table of contents, and it automatically opens with this home tab open. This is going to give you some more information. There's a help document. There's a quick 10-minute overview video if you're interested in seeing. There's a deeper 1-hour instructional video. The other class I teach for this can be as long as 3 hours. So I'm really going to condense a lot of information down to just this quick 30-minute overview. So if I gloss over something too quickly, there are sources to get this information. You can also reach out to our office. The map frame in the center of the map, I'll get into all the buttons in here in a little bit. You standard navigation stuff that you're used to seeing, and other map-centric tools I'll get to. And then the toolbar up at the top. You see, we just have icons here right now, but if you were to toggle this switch, you can get labels for all of your tools, so you don't have to guess what you're pointing at. Okay, let's check out the table of contents here. Again, we have the help, the overview video. All these are explanations of each of the tools. The help document will give you an explanation for each tool, but you can also do a quick link to these. If you just want to parse a report, you could click on these and it would open that. If you just wanted to take a snapshot or a PDF, these are quick links to just do that. Okay, so that was the home button here. Let's click to the right here. Let's check out the layers. Again, over 170 layers in this. They're categorized by grouped layers. You can expand to see more of the layers in each category. You can change the drawing order, which I'll get into later. This is up in the panel actions menu. So if a polygon's drawing on top of another feature that you're not interested in, you can work around that. You can redetermine the drawing order. This is a transparency thing that we'll get to later as well. Slide bar for transparency. You can expand to get more information about each of these. And we also have extra actions in the, what are we calling this? In the greater than symbol or lesser than symbol, where you can zoom to a visible map extent. So to say we were looking at parcels here, but I don't see any parcels drawn. You can see how it's grayed out and italicized. That means it's at such a level that the drawing threshold is not kicked in. So if I want to zoom into where the parcels are being drawn, I can say zoom to visible scale. And that's the furthest out you can be and still see parcels. If you go out one, it won't be there. But as you zoom in, you will see it. You also have other options under these. You can toggle labels. You can have a customized label based on different attributes in this. Let's go back, clicking the arrow, looking at the layers. These are themes. We used to have more, and we do have more on our internal application, but for right now, you can either look at all available layers, or you could just switch it to imagery and it would change the available layers that are in your table of contents. Let's stick with all layers for now. Okay, just to quickly go through all the data that we have available. Property and planning, this is going to be of interest to everyone in the webinar today. We have land description, which includes parcels. Again, parcels, if you know GIS, parcels these are not a replacement for a survey. It gets close enough. It's really just to give you general information, but it may appear that it's super accurate, but these things could be off by a few feet or more. So it's really just for informational purposes. Beneath that, we have land development, and this includes planning areas and zoning districts. You have special tax districts, overlay districts, and Tyson's gets its own category because there's so much going on in Tyson's. Lots of development. They have their own plan that they're working with, so that's all in its own category. Beneath that, we have community. Public facilities, it's a big one, so you can turn that on. You can see all these. Schools beneath that. Electoral, human services, recreation to include parks and trails and things. And then we also have administrative boundaries, zip codes, political jurisdictions, the county border, things like that. Underneath that, we have infrastructure and environment. You can have your built structures here. This is buildings, building additions, things like that. We have edge of pavement. Go ahead and turn that on so we can see. And the edge of pavement. These are different from the center lines. This is actually what we've picked up with our planometric data. So it shows the actual edge of the pavement, minor and major. Beneath that, roadways. This is where you're going to find your center lines and road labels. Non-motorized, you get your walkways, bicycle routes. And beneath the infrastructure, we get into the environmental type stuff. We have hydrology, shows water features, watersheds, inadequate outfall areas. Vegetation's great for tree cover. The most recent we have is 2015, but if you turn that on, you can see the tree cover in that area. And as this is all loading, it's drawing lots of layers on top of each other here, so it's still working. A good soils map. We have current and historic soils going back to 1990. Utilities, there's a lot of stuff in here as well. We have our major utilities and street lights, and underneath the utilities, we have specific to stormwater infrastructure. Stormwater infrastructure is going to have a lot of information, including every pipe and structure that's going on. Beneath that, there's a lot going on with these. And then underneath that, we have wastewater management areas. We don't have the infrastructure available public facing. This is more giving you kind of a service area, sewer subshed, things like that. Towards the bottom of the table of contents, we have our base maps. Brett mentioned this earlier too. This isn't going to have as many options. It's a reduced size, but it should give you the same type of information that Brett was just showing. You have your real property, and this is a select one situation. So if I select the real property, it's turned off topographic. Or if I just want to go with the zoning with real property, I prefer topographic. It's a nice base map, shows points of interest, street names are labeled nicely. If you wanted to get artsy with it, you could include a light gray or dark gray base map as well. And this would look better. If you're zoomed out, I can show you once we get to the map making portion of this presentation. So I'm gonna stick with topographic. And then beneath that, cool stuff, imagery. As soon as I turn on imagery, see it's trying to load. It says it loaded, but I'm not seeing it because of the base map on top. So I'm going to turn off the base map. And you'll see imagery has opened up. Let's expand that. Now we have imagery going from last year all the way back to 1937. Wealth of information here, high quality too. So you can really get an idea of where things were, almost 100 years ago. Okay. Another thing, let me turn off the tree cover. I'm going to zoom to a location just so I can show you more with the aerial imagery. Search Burke Lake, points of interest popped up, so I'm going to zoom to this guy. So what we're looking at now is Burke Lake. I'm going to cancel these. Now let's go back to those layer list. Okay, so now I've got that 2022. Actually, let's turn off the water as well. So you get so many things turned on, it's hard to see at times. Okay, that works. So let's take a look at the imagery. We have 2022 turned on. Burke Lake is not a natural lake. It was created back in the 60s, 70s. So let's take a look. So I'm going to have two layers of imagery turned on. So I've got 1976 and 2022. And like I alluded to earlier with the transparency, you can take this slider bar and make the current imagery And I'm back. Sorry, I had some technical difficulties there. We'll see if we can jump back into where we left off. We had gone over the layer list. We were working on imagery. I was talking about the sliders here. Burke Lake, we're going to turn on 2022 imagery. We're going to go down here to 1960 imagery. So that's drawn underneath. As you use the slider, you can increase the transparency of the top layer so you can compare the two. You can do this with different years. You see they built the lake sometime between 1960 and 1972. Let's take a look at that actually. Let's come down here. And that is the imagery layers. Let's turn back on base maps. Let's work with that for now. And that pretty much covers the table of contents panel. Let's go over to the map frame. First thing in the upper right, you saw me use this earlier for points of interest, street names. There's also a help information about this window. Search results listed on the left side of the map as soon as you click enter or select something from the list. Let's search an address. So check it out. I just wrote in an entire address and I'm using a proper name of the street type. If I hit enter, it's going to say nothing came up. That's because this address search works on our MAR system and will only show the abbreviation of these names. So that you could do PKWY, and that does bring back 1 point. You could also not include a street type at all, and it would still come up with something in the search. So once this point is selected, it will zoom to it, and it'll give you more information about that layer. There's some other hyperlinks that you can use here. You have the My Neighborhood. If a point is selected as the address point, you can use the My Neighborhood, and these other ones show up as well in parcel searches, but let's go through them all right here. If you click the My Neighborhood, it will take that point and it will work its way through a bunch of jurisdictional layers, election layers, things like this. You see the address is already up here. I'll hit enter. And from that, it will determine your voting precinct, your polling place, elected officials, public schools that this serves, public safety or fire station, police station, libraries, hospitals, and urgent care. Good information there. The next is nearby land development. And I'm sure the tools that Brett just showed will eventually be linked in here as well. The land development information warehouse. See, it plugs in the address. The permits used at this address are exceeding 1,000. If you were to search on a residential property, you're not going to see as many results. But these are all the permits that have gone through associated with this tax map number. You can also get real estate assessment, which shows information about the parcel. You have sales history, values over time. So these options, after a point is selected as an address or a parcel is selected, it gives you these options to run reports. You can also get these same reports by clicking the I Want To tab. This is where you can get additional information. Well, let's get into that. These are separate reports on the second tab. We'll get into that here in a second. Staying on the map frame here, below the map screen, on the bottom of the map, we have base maps on the left. And right now we're with topographic, but we could switch this up to see a zoning map. We also have, let's go back to topographic. Right there. You also have the coordinate system down here. If you click this little button, you can see the latitude and longitude, and as you move the mouse over the screen, it writes in real time. If you'd rather look at this in state plane, you can switch that right here. Click the button again to close that. Scale is next to this. We also have an inset map. A lot of people overlook this one. This is a tiny button in the bottom right corner. Once you click this, you get an overview of where you are. This is also interactive. You could grab this little blue box, move it around. That pretty much covers the map frame. Let's get into the toolbar, the upper part of the screen. There are 5 tabs here. We have basic tools, reports, searches, measurement tools, and drawing tools. Let's start with the basic tools. Pan is typically the default button that's on when you open the app. So that's just clicking on the left mouse button and moving around. You can use your mouse wheel to scroll in and out, but you can also use the buttons on the map. The next button on the toolbar is the previous extent. This can go back as many times as you've had the application open. You can also go forward extent. If you refresh the map, this will go to the initial extent that the map started in. You can also create bookmarks. Let's go back one where we were. We'll create a bookmark of the Government Center. Create a bookmark. GC Government Center. So that's in there. As long as your computer doesn't recache or anything like this, the next time you come into this application, it should be stored in a profile that it's created for you in the cache. So these bookmarks should persist. No guarantee that it's going to last the next time you have to refresh your computer. Next we have, actually, let's click the button. Let's see the labels for these. Let's turn on the tool labels. Those were the navigation options. Now we have selection tools. Selecting, you can just point and click to get information about whatever layer's on. Let's turn on some more layers to make this a little more interesting. Let's turn on tree cover. And some of the stormwater infrastructure. We don't need projects. And we'll turn off maintenance. Let's see how that draws. Let's make the tree cover not so vibrant. We're going to decrease that so we can see through it a little. Okay. So now, clicking on the map with the selection tool enabled, comes up with the parcel information. Let's see, identify results, it's thinking. Okay, now it found two things. It found the parcel that it was sitting in, and it found the actual stormwater facility that I clicked on. If you click on this, it will highlight, and it should give you more information. A lot of these links will link back to county websites so that you can get more information directly from the source. If nothing is selected when you click on the map, it means no layers are on. Let's get into, let's try a buffer here actually. Let's select some parcels from a buffer. So I'm going to enable the buffer. I'm going to say 500 feet. I say continue. Now it wants me to click on the map somewhere, and it should select everything within that 500 feet here. So in that 500 feet diameter that it selected, there were two parcels selected, 29 storm structures, 31 stormwater lines, and one stormwater facility, which is this guy here. That's how the selection by buffer works. You can clear your selection here. Next, we have maps. You can take a snapshot of the view, or you can create a PDF. Let's go ahead and do both here. A snapshot just creates a static image, so you can, by PNG, JPEG, something like that. It's working on it. And this creates a very simple screenshot, essentially. Let's see the difference if we turn this into, let's create a PDF map. We're going to jazz this up a little bit. We're going to give it a full title. Government Center demo. We'll put today's date on here. We'll say print. You saw that red box that was on the map frame? That's showing the extent of where your map will be. It's preparing the file. It's ready to view. So we'll put that title up at the top, gave the screen that we were looking at. It also gives more context on the legend here. It's showing everything, even features that are not on the map. I think in a future release, we will have that kind of filtered out to what is actually visible in the map extent. We have an inset map on the upper right, shows a red dot of where we are, and the notes that I had put in. I had squeezed today's date in, but it's also down here on the bottom right. So you could put in any type of information you'd like in that notes field. Okay, next we have bird's eye view. This is, okay, we're still on select here. Let's get out of here. Clear. Oh, it's up here. There we go. Okay. Bird's eye view is pictometry. This is aerial imagery that's taken at an angle, almost like a 45-degree angle, as opposed to something that's taken from top down. So let's take a look at that. If we click this button, the screen will split into two, and it shows you a little purple icon here showing where the center of this map is pointed. So what we're looking at, we could grab this point and say, I want to see the front door of the government center. You could even use this to pan around and you'll see the purple dot moves. Let's pop this out. You can use this button here to open the map in a larger window. There you go. This works as its own map, essentially. You can zoom in and out on these. You can use the rotate function to rotate clockwise and counterclockwise. You can zoom in. You can select from date up here. This is always showing the default, the latest imagery, but you could go way back in time. Let's take a look at what this looked like in 09. Pretty much the same. Maybe some new stormwater structures here. Okay, another thing you can do is you can add layers by clicking the layer button. You can add contours, address points, parcel boundaries, and roadways. Let's look at what it looks like there. You can rotate. Let's switch it back to the most recent year. Okay, you can see the contours on there in light gray. Let's go more to the right here. We can see some parcel boundaries, how these work. Gotta keep going. Okay, we're asking it to do a lot here. We're zooming all around. We're changing which direction we're looking from. We're having the contour lines draw on top of an aerial image here. Let's see what happened to my other layers. Why don't I see parcel boundaries? Let's maybe turn off some of this stuff. I'm asking too much of it. Okay, I won't mess around with this too much. Let's get back to where we were looking at. We can close that and maybe open it again. We can maybe refresh that whole operation. There you go. Let's see if we want to zoom out a little bit more, get some frame of reference. There we go. We're creeping back in. Okay. All right. Bird's eye view is a lot of fun. You can use that all over the county. Lots of years of data, and it's different than the other direct top-down type of imagery that we have. You can see a lot more under tree lines and things. It's good stuff. All right. Next we have sharing social media. You have the option to either share to any one of these: Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, and email. And the home button will open up in the table of contents. If you see here, if you click home, it opens that. Same way to get to that is to use the layers in the table of contents. To get through the other tabs, that was all the basic tools. I'll zoom through the other tabs real quick. You can get general parcel reports and environmental parcel reports by clicking on one of these tabs. Then it asks you to click on the map to get one of these reports. Let's give one a try. To get a general parcel report, this generates pretty quickly. It gives you a lot of information and links supporting this information. Okay, let's go to searches. Searches is great. It searches by parcel, address, street, intersection, and subdivision. Parcel is an autocomplete situation where you start typing and it auto-completes into available parcels that are in that tax map. You do a street intersection. This one's great too. So if you start typing in a street name, It auto-completes for you. As soon as you select one from the list, this next drop-down list will only show you streets that are intersecting Lee Highway. As soon as you click one and say search, it will zoom to that location, Gallows Road and Lee Highway. Subdivision search is the same, an autocomplete. This is looking into the database at real time. So as you start typing, it'll autocomplete. Okay, these are the search tools under the search tab. Next, we have measurement tools. I'm going to go ahead and wrap up here in a second. I'll let you guys use this on your own. And we also have supporting videos that we have a 10-minute video and an hour-long video if you were interested in getting more information or just maybe showing it to someone else, showing them that 10-minute video that might interest them. Measurement tools, we have drawing tools. You can actually draw on the map. Features, not features, you can draw graphics on the map that will be visible when you use the print function, either the image or the PDF option. These will be available. There's just a lot you can do with this. I encourage you to take a look at it. You can find this again by searching Fairfax Jade in Google or going to the county website and finding it on our Maps and GIS Services webpage. If you have any suggestions for the app or if you notice anything out of place, feel free to use the Home tab in the table of contents to provide feedback on the application. Thank you.
I think we're nearing the end of the session here anyway, so I think I'll just wrap it up. If he's able to get back on and join for the remaining few minutes of his presentation, fantastic. In the meantime, I'll kind of go over the housekeeping stuff that we like to wrap up these sessions with. As previously mentioned, there will be a follow-up email that comes out typically end of day, same day as the webinar. And that likely will come from Rachel Martin, or perhaps this time from me, Allison Olguin. Be on the lookout for that email that kind of wraps up the session and includes helpful links, any links that were shared during the presentation, how to find these applications that are being shown to you, some resources for Plus support if you're having technical issues. It'll also contain a link to the the YouTube channel where all of these Wednesday webinar recordings are housed, as well as many additional helpful videos, short videos, long videos on everything you could possibly want to do within Plus. It's a great resource, so that link's in the email as well. Any questions that came in during the presentation, including answers. So these Wednesday webinars are held twice a month. Our next upcoming webinar will be April 17th, I'm sorry, 19th. That's the Wednesday, April 19th, and that's going to cover pool training, pool permitting applications, pool permit renewals, how to register your company, your pool management company as a certified pool operator, certificate provider, etc. A lot of great information for any public pool management companies. Followed by the next one webinar in May covering temporary events, food permitting for temporary events. I don't see that Chip has been able to rejoin us, so I think we will wrap it up there. Thank you very much, both Chip and Brett, for sharing your time and expertise with us today. Thank you all the participants for attending the Wednesday webinar, and I hope to see you again at future webinars.